78 Sports TV here. So I'm checking out my boy Boxing Beats and Rhymes page.
Doing it from Boxing Beats and Rhymes channel.
This is Tony Thompson, chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes. Everyone, you chilling with Boxing Beats and Rhymes. This is that Mayor Hardcore Man store on Boxing Beats and Rhymes YouTube channel.
I don't know if you answer. Possible Manny Pacquiao fight with Floyd Mayweather. How you feel about that?
Well, basically, it's a fight that still has the potential to happen.
Héctor Camacho, born in Puerto Rico, moved to New York, I assume, when he was relatively young. And as a teenager, he used to fight on the street, shoplift, was an admitted drug user, a car thief. And that's what he was about. That's what he was about. And that street nature never really left him. It never really left him. When you go through the names of the dudes he fought, man, you know, it's outstanding reading. Let me go through the names I know. Refugio Royas, very tough. Melvin Paul, this is on the way up, tough fighter, very tough fighter. John Mentes wasn't bad, from what I remember. Rafael Limon, who he won his first title from. 5-round TKO, good fighter. Rafael Solis, I remember him being a tall, sort of African Latin fighter. Tall, big, strong, good puncher. He took him out. But then again, that could have been Raphael Williams, so I'm saying is a big, strong, tall puncher. He fought 2 Raphaels on the trot. So I think it could have been Williams who I was talking about there. Louis Burke was just a journeyman, non-title fight. Jose Luis Ramirez took the lightweight title from him. But before we go to lightweight, junior lightweight, man, this guy was like, whew, he was outstanding at junior lightweight. That's what I remember. Fast, hard puncher, hard to hit, tricky, slick, ruthless. He had a bit of everything. Really good, really good. Moved up to lightweight. His ability just shone through. Took out Jose Luis Ramirez, unanimous decision. He also beat Freddie Roach, which I can't remember. He beat up Freddie Roach. He was 28-0 by then. That was a non-title fight. Edwin Rosario, split decision. I remember that fight. That's the first fight he really got hurt. He got tagged a couple of times, and he was reluctant to try and compete with Rosario with that fast-handed offense that he displayed beforehand at junior lightweight, for the most part. And he was very reluctant. And Rosario hurt him pretty bad. It was a split decision. He was roundly booed. I remember that fight, man. Rosario himself might end up on the dysfunctional list. I'll go to his story later. Boza Edwards. I remember the Boza Edwards fight. He floored Edwards early. Edwards got up. And once again, I don't know if he was struggling at the weight. I think he complained that he was struggling. He was weak at the weight. But Boza just ended up just chasing him around the ring for the most of the fight. Just chasing him around the ring, and he was just in retreat. And once again, it wasn't a popular victory. I didn't see the Howard Davis fight, but incredible. It's still incredible. Unanimous 10-round non-title fight. I don't know if he gave up that lightweight belt, because I don't know, because he seemed like he was weak at the weight. The Howard Davis fight may well be a light welterweight. May well be. I remember the Ray Mancini fight. I remember that fight. Split decision. But, you know, in my opinion, Hector outclassed him. Mancini, dogged, rough, tough, came to fight. And that gave him the WBO junior welterweight title. He was the first WBO junior welterweight champion. You know, that was in '89. The belt didn't really matter. The WBO wasn't established, but them two, as names and characters and fighters in the sport, held more weight than the actual belt. And it was a relatively big fight. It was a relatively big fight back then. Look at this, 37-0. He outpoints Vinny Paz. Huh. Look at that. Unanimous decision. And Paz wasn't no joke. Tony Baltazar defended against him. Baltazar was tough. And he's actually got a YouTube channel where he shows a lot of fights from the 80s and the 90s. Which I'm sub to, but he doesn't seem to be posting up too much these days. And Baltazar, you know, very tough dude. I think he came from a boxing family. And He actually floored Buddy McGirt, Baltazar, you know. Once again, good form, 38-0. His first loss was against Greg Haugen in 1991. Split decision loss. Could have went either way. Revenged that the next fight. Took on Chavez in 91. He was really busy. 4 fights in 2001. Greg Haugen twice. And Chavez Senior. And against tough, world-class opposition. In 91, he fought Chavez Senior. And he took a beating. Yeah. Man gave him a beating. Give him a beating. Man was just in retreat. He was just running. Chavez was just thumping him up. And I remember it being a pro-Mexican crowd. That could be wrong. Maybe that's just my imagination. And they were just cheering him on. And he was just thumping Camacho. Camacho looked a bit pitiful. But he went the distance. That's the point. He went the distance, man. He went the distance. Unanimous decision loss. That's the first time he was really decisively beaten in a ring. You know. And he went the distance with Trinidad. That's one of the first fights that made me peek Trinidad's radar. Done a really good job of staying on top of Camacho and cutting the ring down. Although he couldn't knock him out like he did his other welterweight contenders who tried to challenge him for that belt. He couldn't knock him out. He couldn't knock Hector out. So you can see already, tough opponents. And damn, he's not even hitting the deck. I'm trying to find a fight where he hit the deck. Luis Maisonnet, he was a hard puncher. Maisonnet was a hard puncher. And Camacho stopped him in 7. By 95, we're talking about him not being the force he once was, really. But he beat Duran twice. He did beat Duran twice. It's only showing 1 victory over Duran. I remember him beating him twice, man. I'm sure he beat him twice. Obviously, he banged up Sugar Ray Leonard on an ill-advised comeback in 97. He went the distance with Oscar De La Hoya. Did anyone floor him? Who floored him, man? Did Chavez or Trinidad floor him? I'm sure he was floored. I can't remember when. Maybe he wasn't, you know. He once tried to take an M16 rifle through customs. Substance abuse. Burglary. You know, I think the year he died, a warrant was sent to him with beating one of his sons. A trial was pending at his death. He wore all them crazy outfits. He came to ring in a diaper once. A Roman gladiator's outfit he used to wear, an American Indian costume, a black fox fur robe with his name Macho stitched across the back in white mink. So he was a character. And he is considered one of the best Puerto Rican fighters ever. Alongside Felix Tito Trinidad, Wilfredo Gomez, Wilfredo Benitez, and guys like Carlos Ortiz, who they don't mention, but I'll throw Ortiz in there. Can't find any details online, but I'm sure he was shot at before. He got shot before the fatal shooting just the other year in a separate incident. And when he died, I think he was in an SUV. The driver of the car, Adrian Mojico Moreno, a childhood friend of Camacho, was killed in the attack. Camacho was taken to hospital and reported to be in critical condition. And he was taken off life support. He was brain dead and it was over. They found 9 bags of cocaine in Mojico Moreno's possession. At one time, the doctors thought that Camacho would survive, but he might be paralyzed. But he suffered a cardiac arrest during the night, and they could only find minimal brain activity. And it was a wrap. He is survived by his parents, his sons, 2 grandsons, his brother Felix, a few sisters, his oldest son, Hector Camacho Jr. He said that violence had overtaken Puerto Rico. Death, jail, drugs, killings, he said. That's what the streets are now. A lot of people turned up to his funeral. Trinidad, Benitez, Gomez, John Molina, Samuel Serrano. That's not John Molina who we see fighting today, who lost to Matisse. This is a different John Molina from back in the day. He was actually one of my favorite fighters, John Molina. But Juan Ma was there. I remember that time when he
And I also want to clear up a little statement that people are repeating around about niggers. Okay, when I made the comment about Mike Tyson. Okay, they asked me, what you think about Mike? What's going to happen to Mike? I said, Mike is a very unhappy character because instead of having classy African-American people with class to make them look good, you know, he got all this nigger attitude people around home. that makes him act the way he does, like a little beast that he ain't.
Mancini, I don't respect your opinion. Come on, baby, so I can knock you out. Kelly! Well, who are some of the Bernard Williker, you could get some, baby. You could get some too, Brian Boo, Jimmy Paul, Tommy Holmes, all your niggas. Come on with it, baby. Yeah, buddy! Yeah.
He said, all you again, come on with it, baby. And it caused a big stir. A big, massive stir. Like, you know, because in England, for, you know, NWA wasn't around. And just hearing someone say the N-word, oh, you said the N-word on national TV, it was a big deal. It made a really big deal, you know. So a lot of people didn't understand that. They thought he was a racist, and some people still say he is. People in New York will say, no, that's just how Puerto Ricans and blacks speak. But I'm imagining that little clip, that little audio clip there was around 86 to maybe 88, 87, around them times there. And, you know, people just weren't used to that shit. You know? Nowadays, you say the N-word or you're going to kill 1 million people in a rap song, people barely bat an eyelid. But back in the days, when NWA come out saying the N-word every 2 seconds, it was a big deal. It was like, he just said bitch in the record, he just said name. It was just like, you know, it was a big deal. It was a big deal. And some basic deduction. Hector Camacho, Waddy Camacho. Did you hear Hector there? Yeah, buddy. I wonder if that's where Waddy got it from. No disrespect to Waddy. You got the same name. And the same catchphrase. But that's where the comparison stopped. Let's move on. Back to Hector Camacho, you know. Great talent, but dysfunctional.
You know, a lot of times you didn't have anybody. So, you know, you had to search inside yourself. I don't know about him, but I didn't do what they locked me up for. Oh, I did it.
That's Clifford Ettiene and Mike Tyson going back and forth at their press conference. So here we go. Clifford Ettiene, the Black Rhino, high knockout percentage, most famous for getting stretched out by Mike Tyson now. Ettiene took up boxing while serving a 40-year prison sentence for armed robbery and won the state prison boxing championship while in prison. He was a member of the Gunslingers prison boxing team in Louisiana and reportedly had a 30-0 prison record. He was released on good behavior after serving 10 years. The Ring magazine named him the 2000's most exciting fighter to watch in the heavyweight division when he beat Lawrence Clay back in the day. He also beat Lamont Brewster on points in May 2000. He is now back in jail, serving a 105-year sentence after being arrested in Louisiana on charges of armed robbery, kidnapping, and the attempted murder of a police officer. Ettiene allegedly robbed a local business, carjacked a vehicle containing a woman and her children, then pulled a gun on police officers. He initially was sentenced to 150 years in prison without parole, being high on cocaine that fueled the crime spree that included robbing a check cashing business, carjacking and kidnapping a family. I don't know if that's the same story. It seems like a lot of shit. And attempting to shoot 2 policemen. His sentence was reduced from 150 years to 105 years due to a technicality. He's a wild boy. He's a wild boy. He's a wild boy. Trevor Berbick, born in Jamaica, the last man to defeat Muhammad Ali. The last man to fight Muhammad Ali. And he beat him in a 10-round points decision. He turned professional under the tutelage of Archie Moore. And after that, I think Eddie Futch. He challenged Larry Holmes for the WBC heavyweight title in 1981. He was outpointed. Holmes was a little looked a little scared of Berbick at times. Not scared, but he was very safety first. But he won well. He knocked out John Tate behind on points, just like Mike Weaver was, and knocked out John Tate and ended his career at least at world level. That was before challenging Larry Holmes. And here's a story I didn't know. In order to obtain the Ali fight, Berbick agreed to give promoter Don King options on his 3 next contests. But promoter James Cornelius refused to allow Don King a piece of the action when the fight with Ali was relocated to Nassau in the Bahamas. King threatened to sue Cornelius, then turned up at Berbick's training camp demanding satisfaction. The next day, King was admitted to a Florida hospital, severely beaten. Okay, I didn't know about that story there. I'm trying to work out what's being said here. And I might be paraphrasing it wrong, but it says in 1984, Berbick left for Canada for the US. King, under indictment for tax evasion, is that Don King, found him at his Las Vegas hotel doorstep every morning at 6:30 sharp, with a cross and Bible in hand, reading the 91st Psalm. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. Okay. I'm not sure if that's Don King. I don't know what they mean. Do they mean Don King? Is it a typo? Or I don't know. If anyone can fit it together better than me, let me know. Berbick was a very religious man, you know, according to the legend or the story. He also assaulted his former business manager, pushing a gun in his mouth, and was found to have forged his ex-wife's signature in order to secure a mortgage. Berbick beat Pinkland Thomas for the title and lost it in his first defense, destroyed against Mike Tyson in probably the fight that he's most famous for. Big, strong guy. A lot more savvy than what people give him credit for. He got into a street fight with Holmes because Berbick claimed that Holmes turned Berbick's second wife against him. And Holmes was saying Berbick is crazy. And it's quite funny. If I can find the footage on YouTube, I'll put it in the link where you see Holmes diving off the top of a car on Berbick. It's actually hilarious and it's crazy. It's crazy. In 1992, Berbick was convicted of raping a family babysitter and sentenced to 4 years in jail. He served 15 months. He was then deported to Jamaica and then fled to Canada, though stripped of his landed immigrant status. He was tried for non-payment of income tax and falling asleep in court. He was permitted to stay. He won the national title and was still sniffing around the game for another world title tilt before a failed brain scan forced him into retirement in 2000. You see, that's what I'm saying. Punches to the head and shit, you know what I mean? Returning to his homeland, he took up training and preaching. His homeland being Jamaica, obviously. And according to JamaicanPride.com, and the editor of that site, he was still a national hero, a Jamaican hero. His death was quite vicious. He was murdered in Port Antonio, Norwich, in Jamaica. Either inside or outside a church. His nephew, along with an assailant, beat the brakes off Berbick. It was a dispute over land. Both men were arrested, and Berbick's nephew is doing life, and the assailant is doing his bid for manslaughter. They used a steel pipe, 2-inch thick steel pipe. He suffered multiple blows to the head and died at the scene. Local residents indicated that the suspect was involved in a land dispute with Berbick. So there you go. You know, Trevor Berbick, another dysfunctional boxer, people. Peace out.